are you? Did that sound all right?
Right. Okay, that's it. Wonderful. It's wonderful. Let's just run with this now, guys.
So guys, tune into the show. Don't miss it because it's going to be an amazing show. You are going to be touched. You're going to be amazed. You're going to be excited. It's Thursday, 11 o'clock on a Thursday. The Message Talk Show with Alex Gordon. Yes, don't miss it. So guys, tune into the show. Don't miss it because it's going to be an amazing show. You are going to be touched. You're going to be amazed. You're going to be excited. It's Thursday, 11 o'clock on a Thursday. The Message Talk Show with Alex Gordon. Yes, don't miss it.
Wow, this morning it is coming to us left, right, and center. The technical abilities are just kicking us this morning. But you know what? We're here and we're not giving up this morning. We are not giving up. We're cracking this show. Regardless of who thinks that we're not kicking the show today, we are kicking the show because we've got an amazing guest in house today. And there's no way we can't not have this show. There is no way we can't not have this show, despite the cameras failing us. Despite the cameras letting me down at the last minute, the microphones, my God, man, I've just never had it this bad. I never had it this bad, Nathan. Never had it this bad. How are you, sir?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be on your show. We don't worry about mics and technology. We're here, and I'm looking so forward to this talk. Let's go. Let's go. I'm so excited to speak with your listeners and viewers today.
Yes, it's just one of those things when the feeds don't happen, it just causes a massive distortion all around when the feeds are not just feeding in properly. But hey, Nathan, so how are you today?
I'm phenomenal. I'm great. I'm feeling really grateful. I'm energized, and I'm really I'm grateful. A lot of good things are happening for us behind the scenes. So yeah, I'm really good. I'm in a good place.
You know the most fantastic thing about this? I was trolling you this week, right? I was trolling you because you're one of those guys. You are a marketer's dream. You know what I mean? You push out content, you got attitude, you take the camera out, you picture the team. Man, you got shots coming from left, right, and center.
I'm on LinkedIn right now, connecting in. You know what? You have to work it, and you got to maximize all the opportunities and just share the work that you're doing, because you never know who you might connect or reach.
Well, and that's so important. You never know who you connect with. You never know who you reach. And I had a clip that I put together, and I'm thinking, man, where can I find that clip this morning? Now that I had to change the laptops, now it's all gone. But if you go to legacyconsultants.co.uk, man, you see this guy in his element. In his element, man. The team, the games, the parties, the young people is just so amazing. I've not seen anything like this, Nathan. I have not seen anything like this at all in my journey of guys putting things together and just being out there with everything, you know.
I'm trying.
Just being out there with everything, man. Sorry.
We're trying, man. We're working hard behind the scenes. We have two hats that I wear primarily. I have Legacy Consultants, where we do our training and consultancy. And then I'm a founder trustee of our charity, First Steps Foundation, based in the West Midlands, Birmingham. And we're going through it, man. We're clear about our mission. We're clear about what we want to do. So we're just all, pedal to the metal, and we just believing that everything that we've set out to do will be accomplished.
Wow. So let me just drop this in now, because I love this. I love this, man. I'm thinking there is no way I'm not showing this today, man. I just love this, man. Legacy Consultants, and here we have the man. When I saw this in LinkedIn, man, I thought, yes, man, this team is bad.
You're lucky I didn't do the Wakanda sign, but we're trying to be humble.
I thought this team is bad, man. And then I saw this shot again. You know what I mean? I'm missing, wow, man. This guy's got it going on, man. He's got it going on. And this was the celebration. What was this celebration here, Nathan?
So we officially, this week, literally on the 7th of August, we had the honor to launch our charity. So that's some of the team, the staff team, through the charity that I'm a founder trustee of, First Class Foundation. And we're doing 3 things. We're trying to reduce youth violence. We're improving mental health resilience of young people, and we're trying to ultimately connect young people to their purpose. So in this picture, we've done a night themed around African tradition, and we really celebrated the work. We heard from participants of the work, service users. We had food, we danced until our feet hurt us, and we went in, man, and we was just like, you know what, we've been through a year and a half like no other. And it was just the kind of coming out party of celebration.
Wow.
We've come out of lockdown. We've gone through so much challenges and different bereavements and just a change in the world. Well, that night there was all about celebration, and we did celebrate.
I love the outfits, man. I love the outfits. They just look amazing, tremendous.
Thank you. Awesome. Excellent.
And then what was this? What was this now? This is the unboxing or something.
Yeah, so it was our raffle. Shout out to OTD Limited and Chris Cummins, who is one of the managing directors, who actually sponsored this 50-inch TV, part of our raffle. We had loads of prizes, but this was like our mega prize. And yeah, this was the moment when a young lady won her 50-inch smart TV.
Wow, tremendous. Working with Nathan and his team at Legacy is always refreshing, insightful, and delivers the impact required. Understanding how to reach diverse groups effectively, how to engage in a meaningful manner, and how to adapt communication and engagement strategies for a different audience is a key strength of Nathan's. I just had to pull some of this in, man. Thank you for this training, Nathan. We had some fantastic and needed conversation with the team, and we're looking forward to doing more and the journey ahead. Man, and then this is what triggered me now, because when I had the pre-conversation with you and you talked about what you were doing, and you said during lockdown, you created this game. I had to go look for this game, man. I had to go find this game, man. I said, what's this game that Nathan's talking about? So talk us through this game, Nathan.
So what happened, this is an addition of a game that's been established for quite a while. Shout out to Akin Thomas, who runs AKD Solutions, a phenomenal man. But what happened, I had this vision of a Pacific game in this color after the tragic death of George Floyd. And I says, how can I effectively engage with people to talk about race in a way that was gamified, but still serious, and actually take out some of the sting? Because obviously racism is a real thing that happens globally in the UK here where we're based. And for me, I wanted to create something, a learning tool that was just, no holds bar, focused on race and race only. Because obviously there's 9 protective characteristics in the Equality Act, and there's loads of protective characteristics. But with this board game, we solely focus on race.
That is tremendous. And this board game has been used with different people, different communities.
Different companies. Like, I've been absolutely honored and blown away by the response. We're working with some phenomenal companies. We've got the whole Commonwealth Games board that are, for their away day, they're going to be going through this. We've had amazing companies like Children's Services, the councils, different people have been connecting with us and taking on the training and going through a journey. It's part of a wider program called Navigating the Terrain of Race, where we really get participants and learners to really explore a few things. We get them to explore Black Lives Matter, but we actually really talk about some of the psychological impact that happens for people. So when people see these protests and they see people with placards saying Black Lives Matter, what we do is we take them through a journey to understand the psychological impact of why people would go on the street and protest. We also talk about things like why representation matters within organizations, especially at a senior leadership team perspective. We make sure that companies are thinking about their recruitment strategy, how they're recruiting, how they're retaining staff, how they're creating psychologically and culturally informed environments. We also spend a lot of time talking about our definition around the word anti-racism and being anti-racist, because there's many people that have the camp and say, you know what, Nathan, I'm not racist, but then I say during the training, but are you anti-racist? And there's a lot of metaphors and examples that we give throughout the training that gets people to really think about the difference between someone that sits in the camp of, I'm not racist, but then we pose the question, are you anti-racist?
Woo, man, you're doing some tremendous stuff here, man. That is awesome. That is awesome.
Thank you.
You know, guys, I don't know where you're joining us from today, but you know what? It's not what you'd normally think, but today you're on the Message Talk Show, broadcasting from London. Get a cup of tea, get a cup of coffee, call your friends, call your worst enemies, get them on the line, share the link, and tune into the Message Talk Show today, because we have a tremendous guest, Nathan Dennis from Legacy Consultants. So, Nathan, one question I should have asked you earlier, and let me just jump in there now so you can tell my audience here. Well, you've kind of talked about who you are already. So who do you serve and what got you here?
Wow. So who I am is a director, senior consultant at Legacy Consultants. I also am founder trustee of First Class Foundation, a charity that I founded that does three things: reduce youth violence, improve mental health resilience with young people, and connects young people to their purpose. And who do I serve? Ultimately, I'm a man of faith. I'm a man of the gospel. So I serve God in that perspective. But I serve in terms of my work, I serve loads of public sector, private sector clients through the training that we deliver through Legacy Consultants, and also through the charity arm. We serve young people and we serve their families through the different programs that we're doing. And what got you here, I think for me, it's just about experience. 15 years ago, Alex, 16 now, I probably, teenager, grew up in the city, Birmingham, made poor choices, decisions that, you know, some people do make. And I went through a massive transitional journey when my first daughter was born, who's now 16 years old. Actually, today, shout out to my daughter who's got her results today from her GCSE. I'm so proud of you and everything that you're achieving. I can't wait to talk to you.
Congratulate her properly, man. Congratulate her properly. Send a love from the Message Talk Show.
Yeah, you're live on the Message Talk. So to me now, I'm just so proud of you and what you're achieving. Don't be discouraged for the ones that you didn't get, the ones that you wanted to. As I said to you, your grades do not define you. But going back to the journey, so when Tamina was born, I had to make some decisions in my life as a man about the lifestyle and the type of life I wanted to live. And a very long story short, I first was doing work within the community, my local community, created an organization around trying to get young people to know that they were first class in every aspect of their life. And then what happened through the success of the work that we do now through the charity, many companies, Alex, were coming to us and saying, but how do we effectively engage young people and the wider community around their stakeholder engagement? Because there's many companies, say it could be the NHS, they need to do some research, some surveying, and they want to engage with our community, especially the African Caribbean community. They'll come to someone like me and say, but Nathan, we've seen that you put on an event. You had 200 plus people there, 300 plus people there. How did you do it?
Let me pause you there, Nathan. Because you're just going back to something I said earlier about being out there. How did they know to come to you?
Because word of mouth, the results of our events. Some people will come to an event. Some people hear about an event. People see something on social media. And then they just came in. Like, where I'm only just getting started. And I have to say this, like, there's a word that I say that says favor ain't fair, because not everything I've been able to market. It's not everything I've been able to put out there and run campaigns and do PR. I'm only starting to do PR. I'm only starting to develop a team around me that's helping me to put out stuff. Before, it was just like favor. That's all I can say.
Wow.
And if you know what I mean when I say favor ain't fair. It's about what you do in the secret place. So for me, my discipline, my lifestyle, what I live behind the scenes when no one's looking, my integrity, keeping my promises, living an integral lifestyle behind the scenes, I think that just affords you doors that will just open for you. And I think it's so important that, I'm not faking it.
Okay.
Who I am, who you see me now is just who I am behind the scenes. Like if you interview my wife of 15 years or any of my 4 daughters or any of my friends, they should be able to give you the same account of Nathan Dennis, regardless of when or where you ask them about me. And that's how I live my life.
Let me track them down then, yeah?
No problem.
So Nathan, you said companies started to come to you. They started to come to you and ask you questions. How did you do this?
How did I do this? Yeah, how are you engaging? How are you getting conferences where 400 or 500 people are turning up from the African Caribbean community? And basically I started to develop training programs. The first program, I've kind of renamed it now, but it's originally named the Effective Black and Ethnic Minority Engagement Program, where we talk about methodology. We talk about methodology about the power of having relatable role models in your service delivery and design, the power of using a term called co-production. So that means that when you're designing anything for a service user or a demographic that you're trying to engage, it's important that you create spaces. Some of us call it focus groups. What I call it a bit more than just a focus group. It's around getting the target group who you're trying to engage in part of the planning and the strategizing phase, and you co-produce the idea together so that it's authentic and it lands right with the target group you're trying to engage. So if your demographics that you're trying to engage increase your recruitment, your job opportunities, you bring them into the journey in terms of the behind the scenes planning before you launch products, before you launch services. So these are some of the things that behind the scenes I help companies think through. I think through the strategy, think about their action plan and how they can implement some of the stuff that we're teaching them and showing them to do. And then for some companies, they go for the training, but at the same time, they come back to us and say, actually, Nathan, could you do that for us? And I'm like, I'd be more than happy to.
Well, that's it. That's the key, isn't it? They can't deliver like you. They can't be you. So let me ask you this question then. Is the Afro-Caribbean community different from any other community out there then?
Not in terms of no, because all communities have their nuances. So when I talk about nuances, for instance, we're doing some work now, and actually tomorrow you'll see the announcement of it. I'm so proud of this work that we're about to do with High Speed Rail 2, HS2. And we're starting that tomorrow. We're going to start the announcement process of it anyway tomorrow. And one of the things that we've been talking to with the head of events and marketing is about when we're thinking about doing an event, we need to think about the small things, as simple as if we're going to do a conference, like what is the food menu going to be like? Because if you're trying to engage a certain demographic, there's a certain palette that they have. Not everyone necessarily from the African and Caribbean community would want to eat cold sandwiches and have hummus with carrot dips. Maybe something with some heat in the food with a bit of spice. I'm not saying that's stereotypical everyone, but it's about thinking about the audience you're trying to engage. There's things around the sound of the event. So what is the music that's going to be playing in the background? Who are the speakers, the people that are going to present? Are they relatable on the stage? So there's a lot of things that we take companies through to get them to think about when you're trying to engage certain demographics, you've got to think about these things. So for instance, with some of the stuff that we're going to be doing with HS2, we've got street teams, we've got people that's going to be on the ground with HS2's ground staff, promoting all the job opportunities that are coming with that massive project that's happening for the UK.
So why is HS2 taking it so deep? Why are they taking it so deep?
Because diversity and equality and inclusion is very, very important for a company like HS2 and others. It's important that their workforce reflect the population. Our population is changing. We're coming more to an ethnic minority majority in Trinidad. We're not just a minority. And what it is that especially when the data is showing them that actually at senior leadership levels and management levels, that there's not enough representation in terms of race. There's other sometimes protective characteristics, so disability, sexual orientation, what what have you. But when it comes to race, and you know what's interesting as well through some of the journey, especially since George Floyd's tragic murder, right, is that there's this term called BAME, yeah, and actually it's not, yeah, and actually BAME is not appropriate, because when you work with companies and you start to distill their data, what's interesting is that sometimes they will say, oh, we employ a 5% BAME population in our
lumped
company.
together.
But actually, when you distill the information, actually, you're talking about Chinese, Asian, and it's like, okay, who from the African and Caribbean community actually work in your organization? Then the percentages start to go to sometimes 0 or 0.1. So it's important in terms of definition, how we define these type of things. And these are some of the stuff that I take companies through on a journey through our training. One of our flagship training that we have is our Navigating the Terrain of Race. But one of the ones that I'm really passionate about is our training program called Can You See Me? Can You See Me is a phenomenal.
Can you see me?
Can you see me?
That is so simple.
But powerful, yeah?
Can you see
me? Can you see me? So what happens is that we target senior leaders in companies, and we literally do out and about, come out of the boardroom, get onto the ground. We do meetings and conferences and focus groups at local shops, restaurants, and we do the training in the spaces. So we take them out and get them to meet and feel what it feels like to live in some of these communities. Because what I find happens, especially at a strategic level, is that people making strategies around different social issues, but they're not connected to the heart of the very community they're trying to serve. So Can You See Me is about, we do some classroom stuff, we do a lot of, getting on the ground and experiencing and with the community, and it's really, really,
but
really.
If they had managers or senior managers who came from those diverse communities, would that help more, or would you think they still have to go to them to find out?
I think you still should do it, because it always adds value. It's so important to experience cultures. It's so important to really connect back with what it's really like. So I give you a practical example. Obviously, last year we've seen the press and the news coverage around Marcus Rashford's campaign about ending child poverty and hunger and stuff like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right now, we're delivering a 4-week summer program. Our team are, and what's really wrenched my heart, right, was the reality that some of the young people on our program now, we have over 45 young people accessing our summer program, is that young people are telling us with their own mouth that they are only eating once they've come on our program. Now, this is happening in the year 2021, where young people are telling us, because what happened is that my staff started to observe that some of the young people were like stockpiling some of the food and the snacks that we offer on the program, all for free through the resource that we've been able to tap into. And when we started to consult with the young people, they're telling us, look, this is the only time I'm eating. So for me, what I'm saying, this example is, it's okay that we can see these news headings, but when you're there at the front line, the sharp end, the sharp end, and you feel what that feels like for a young person, it moves your heart. And that's what we're trying to do with this program, is like, we need to get senior leaders to actually come out of the boardroom, out of the strategy table, and come alongside the community. Because I think when your heart and mind is empowered and impacted, what will happen is that the legacy and the actions that you're going to take when you go back to the office is going to be much more passionate. It's going to be much more thought through. And you're going to think, you know what, I need to do something that secures a legacy, a better legacy for the community.
You remind me of something that Dr. Carr said last year after the spin-off from the George Floyd event. And the comment she made was, we need to come to the table. And I think that's exactly what you're doing. You're bringing different people of different backgrounds to the table. And the table is not necessarily in the boardroom. The table is in a little local community down the road somewhere where they've never been, where they've never participated.
It may be in the barbershop. It may be in the local takeaway shop, the local restaurant, Balti restaurant, Caribbean restaurant, what have you. But they have to. And one of the things that we're passionate about doing in this program is letting senior leadership teams experience the nighttime economy as well, because there's like night and day in our world. There's the 9 to 5 community, but then there's like the 8 till 1 a.m., 2 a.m. community, and it's about thinking about how can services more effectively engage that demographic, because that's what's made us be successful, to be honest, because we engage at like unorthodox times. Sometimes we have events or projects or something that we got to promote, and we will be outside the nightclub or the dance hall and promote these opportunities. Wow. And people be like, wow, how did you get all these people to the event? Because we put the work in. So when your service or your organization's closed at 5, we are outside the club 4 a.m. with the street team, promoting your opportunity and telling them, look, there's jobs, look, do you know there's this happening? Look, do you know that that's happening? And that's what it is. It's about breaking the traditional methods of how we engage.
What you're saying is that you go and find the people, you go and find them where they are.
Yep. Yeah, that's correct.
And whatever it takes, you go where they are. And sometimes when we kind of businesses operate through this kind of the education they've received through the way things work, and so you've learned to standardize process of how you market, how you engage people, and even though it's not working, for some reason they're just sticking to the template.
Yeah, because
so now you're creating a new template.
Yeah, we come to disrupt. That's the truth.
Wow, I love that word. I love that word. Yeah. Say that again, Nathan. Say that again, Nathan.
We come to disrupt, which is disrupt your thinking and give you new ways of thinking, ideas. Because sometimes you can get caught up in this is how we always do things. So, for example, Alex, practical example. One of our biggest projects that is servicing right now on our monitoring system through the charity arm, we're servicing over 100 parents across the West Midlands, right? Now, how we got this piece of work and this commission is the simple concept of something that my wife designed, was a concept called kitchen table talks. So what we do with service users, Alex, right, is we take them to dessert restaurants and we have very powerful facilitated discussions at dessert restaurants, different locations. So we'll hire out a dessert shop or hire at the corner and have facilitated conversations. We bring in special guest speakers, mainly from the statutory services, to come and speak to their service users. But what we do first is we offer them a drink, we offer them a piece of cake for free, and we have powerful facilitated conversations. Now, for all the services that have commissioned this piece of work called Kitchen Table Talks, all they say is what you say, Alex. Wow. But the harsh reality is, and they give us good resources. So thank you to everyone that commissions that service. But the harsh reality, when you break it down, and outside of this thing's been evaluated by Birmingham City University and Wolverhampton University. We've got independent evaluators that follow the journey of this program that we're running, and the results are phenomenal, like really good in terms of how we engage in our service users. But when you break it down and you simplify it, all we're saying is that we're going to a dessert restaurant to have a chat, a conversation. It's not hard, but for some people in certain mindsets and statutory thinking, they think this is like we've told you how to solve something, like it's very basic stuff.
No, but you see, what you're talking about is going to a place they would never have gone.
Yeah,
and that's it, because there's probably certain places that they hang out themselves within their demography, but to take them to a place that you're talking about in the inner city, in the heart, they would never. They just drive past it. Time goes by. So when you take them in there and then you offer them the food, the drink, dessert, and they see and they feel what you're talking about, that's tremendous.
Yeah, and it's been going absolutely phenomenal. Like, that project is phenomenal, based on a very simple concept of having kitchen table talks, going back to like what you used to do in your own home, having discussions around food. That's it, and it's been commissioned, it's been sustained, it's creating.
So let me ask you this question then, because you love training. Have you got a kitchen table certification program?
No.
for other organizations, because you're saying this works. And if suddenly they say to you, look, we need to get this on a national basis across the country, then man, you're going to have enough arms and legs to do it all.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you need a kitchen table certification program.
There's actually a toolkit that's been written so that people can literally take it off the shelf and take it nationally. We have a national vision. So the toolkit is actually being created, and it's actually done, actually, I think.
Okay,
I don't
Nathan,
that project,
let me pull it in, Nathan. Let me pull it in and just throw this one word into you, Nathan. Yeah? When you write that program and that certification or those toolkit, license people to use it. So there's a fee involved. Yeah?
Come on, man. This is what
you can't give away everything for free, my brother.
This is not free. The kitchen table talks is not free to the.
Okay.
It's free to the service user, but for those who are doing it on behalf of it's not free.
Okay.
Yeah. There's only a few things I do for free, and through the charity stuff that I do, and through my faith. But I do free. But people have to value in the things that we're doing, and that's the harsh reality.
So let me spin you back here now, because you framed everything around legacy. Yeah, and I wanted to know, why did you come to? You could have called it anything else. You could have called yourself something else, but you framed it around legacy. Why legacy?
Because I want to know that everything that we do, when I'm not here no more, regardless if it's me doing it, that the work continues. It's about legacy. It's about what you leave on this earth. So when we're trying to engage with companies, and we engage with them, we're saying we want to impact the legacy, the next generation. So when we're talking about, for instance, there's some work that we've been doing with the Ministry of Defense, all right? And we've been getting them to really think about the stakeholder engagement around African and Caribbean communities. So when we've implemented the report, we've gave them the recommendation. What I expect to see is that legacy of the work that we've done will continue beyond our time of working together. So for me, legacy is important. It helps us to think much more longer term. It's not short term. It's about impact for generations and other, and that's ultimately why, for me, legacy is important.
And that's so important. That is important to think about what's going to happen when we're gone.
Yeah,
if anything has really sharpened this home or brought this home, the last 16 months that we've lived through.
Yeah.
And the amount of people who passed away.
It's true, man. It's like, and we all got to ask that question, like, how will we be remembered when we're gone? Because we're not going to be here forever. And I believe that we're all on a different assignments and missions that we need to do and fulfill. And it's important that we think about legacy. How would we like to be remembered? When you think about artists like the great Robert Nesta Marley, his legacy is sealed. When you think about, even though he's still alive, Usain Bolt, he's the fastest man. Like, he's always going to be remembered. How are we going to be remembered when that time comes? And I'm not trying to be morbid, but I'm just saying this is the reality of life. There's a few things that are promised when you're born that that will happen. So yeah.
Bola has just come back to us, and she said that BAME is stereotyping and urgently needs to be scrapped. The information is insightful. Do you think it needs to be scrapped?
Yeah, I think it definitely needs to be changed, but I've crossed it out on our new marketing material on our program. But the reason why I personally, Bola, and this is just from a pure commercial perspective, is that especially when I'm engaging with the public sector, they understand that term. But it's once I've got them and I've hooked to them, then I educate them about why that term is not appropriate. But we haven't got a replacement. Some people are saying person of color. I personally have renamed our training that used to be called the Effective BAME Engagement Training, the Effective Black Stakeholder Engagement Training.
Right.
And everyone's different. So I'll give you an example. We talked about our board game. There's a question that comes up in the board game that says this, and it's for about 50 points in our game, and it says, which of the following terms could be considered offensive when communicating with someone from an ethnic minority community? And it's a multi-choice question, and it goes A, black, B, colored, C, mixed race, D, dual heritage, E, half caste, F, all of the above. And we could add G, BAME. right? And then what happens is that the delegates, right, will go into breakout rooms and have a discussion, and whichever team comes back with the best reasoning will win the 50 points.
Wow.
So what happens in that discussion is that you find that actually, I've had training where there was two people who you can say I come from mixed race backgrounds, and one person says, I'm totally happy and fine with being referred to as half caste. The other person in the same training who's mixed race says, I have real problem with that because I'm not half caste of nothing. Wow. And it was interesting about people's perspective. I've had the training where there's an African lady that's in the training, and she said to me, it's only when I came to England that did I start to hear this concept about black. Because when I was living in Africa, we would just refer to each other as African. It's only when she came to the UK, people started to say black. I don't want to be referred to as black. I am African. Wow. So it's so important to really understand that everybody connects to words differently. There was a time in history where people was calling people colored, and they thought it was all right. Oh, I'm a colored friend down the road. Like now that's like, huh? Pardon?
Hey, you can't use that word now, mate. But to some degree, you have to think, wow, we seem to have evolved. We've evolved. And though it seems as though we've evolved, sometimes there are still things brewing in our community that we don't see. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? So years ago, we would have probably said, okay, somehow we're dealing with racism. Yeah. From all the racism initiatives that we've had over the years, I would have thought that we were dealing with it. Only to then realize in the last 12 to 18 months that we haven't really skimmed the surface yet.
We put it under the rug. Put it under the rug, and what's happened is that the wind has just blown the rug off, and now we're realizing there's all this mess underneath the rug because it's some quick. I remember when I was young, right, and mommy would say, "They even clean up," and sometimes I'd cut corners and just like, quickly just hoover there and quickly hoover there. And
visible sight.
Yeah. And just as long as you could see that it looked thingy. And then my mom started to lift up the rug. He said, have you moved the settee? Have you moved this? And I was like, have you hoovered that? Yeah. And you realize you haven't done it properly. And this is the problem. We haven't done it properly. And that's why, going back to the original slide that you started with, I've been very clear about the training that we offer is race focused. I'm not ashamed of that, because the harsh reality is there is many protective characteristics, and if we're not careful, some protective characteristics are getting more airplay, more focus and attention than others. Yes. And many times I have loads of inquiries and people are saying, okay, we want to do a bit of D&I, but we need to cover everything. And I'm saying, for the depth of every area, for me, you don't do justice if you're just trying to do a blanket sweep of everything. Disability needs its place, and you need to have experts that understand about disability, invisible disability, and have that space. People from the LGBT plus Q, LGBTQ plus community, they need their space. When you're talking about pride and all the things that they've gone through, the horrendous treatment that they've been through, what pride means, you need experts that can come in and talk about that and understand that, people with lived experience and those who are experts in terms of understanding the statistics. And I think what we need to be conscious of is that we don't try and put all the protective characteristics into one basket and skim it over, because that's how we can cause offense very quickly, because we brush over things and we don't give things their proper place and time. So for me, it's like, it's being clear about what we need to do and what we want to do, and the things that we can't cover, the things that we don't really necessarily have the right, understanding about. So that's my perspective.
So what's triggered this vision? What's triggered this vision now? You're a young man coming in the city of Birmingham, and now you are almost like the young man carrying a dream for your community. You're carrying this burden for some massive change, and you're not just on the street corner demonstrating. You're knocking on the doors of corporations to change their understanding so that they partner with you. What triggered this vision?
You know what? I've always been someone like, you know what? One of the things that really gets me frustrated is what I call ghetto politics or ghetto court or barbershop court. So when you go to the barbershop, many people talk about all the wrongs in society and all the problems that we have, but I never ever really hear the solutions. And I hate being a talk shop. So for me, it's like the straw that broke the camel's back for me was George Floyd. I already was working on things behind the scenes, but I said, you know what, I'm going to dedicate the rest of my life to this type of work because I can't wait and expect other people to do it. I know there's fantastic work out there, and I'm quite new in the race space. Let's be very honest and transparent about that. But I said, you know, I want to make a difference. I've got a thought to share. I've got some ideas to share. And I said, you know what? I'm going to share them and create the space. So I wrote the training, Navigating the Terrain of Race. And our feedback, we use SurveyMonkey to get feedback every time we do training. And it's been outstanding. Like, we're getting real good feedback. And I was like, wow. It just shows me sometimes that you got to trust the visions that you see. Sometimes it seems impossible. And for those who may listen to this, right, because one of the things I'm very conscious of is this. You can see me on LinkedIn, and obviously I'm going to post my best pictures. I'm trying to put my best foot forward. You don't see the picture when I haven't cut my hair or I'm feeling down and out and frustrated and I feel like giving up. But if there's someone that was listening to this who feels like I've got this vision, but I don't know where the provision's coming from, I want you to hold on to that vision and write it out, make it really clear, make it really plain about the things that you're seeing in your mind. And I'm telling you, at the right time, the right person will see that vision, read it, and run with it. So I'm just saying to you, I don't know who it is, like anybody, like I always talk in seasons sometimes, sometimes, I believe that our lives can mirror the seasons of the earth in terms of summer, spring, autumn, winter. And sometimes on our career perspective, we can feel like it's a bit like autumn. People are dropping off, opportunities are dropping off, things are just dropping off around us, just like the leaves on the tree. And then it can get even worse where it feels like you're isolated, you're alone, it's cold, it's winter, just like in the seasons of nature. But I want to encourage someone to say that, you know what, spring comes, new buds, new opportunities, new ideas, and know that this season will come for you. Like, this shall pass, like whatever you're going through. Because I'm very conscious, Alex, of the people that have gone through the 16 months and it hasn't been good for them. It's decimated their business. It's decimated their ideas. That to understand, you may be feeling that you're in winter right now, but I'm going to tell you that spring will come. And I'm also going to say to you that after spring comes summer, when you'll be shining again. I'm in a summer, Alex. I know for a fact I'm in a summer. Opportunities are coming to me easily and effortlessly.
You had to prepare.
I had to prepare, and it's been a lot of hard work behind the scenes. As I said earlier, my integrity, what I do behind the scenes is important. It's staying committed in the off season. So one of the things I've seen about athletes, Alex, is when someone who I admire, someone like Anthony Joshua, he's a person, right, that even when it's off season, he's still in training. So he will finish a fight, and one of the things he was saying in his interview, I can't wait to get back in the gym and perfect and sharpen my craft. So it's about, what are you doing off season? Yeah. Are you still staying in your journals? If you're someone of faith, do you still pray? If you're someone that's not into faith, but you still do like positive affirmations and you write and you do vision boards and you do your well-being breathing and stuff like that, are you still doing that behind the scenes? Because I'm telling you, preparation prevents poor performance. And I'm saying that everyone, regardless of where you're from, what background, you will have a summer, but it's important that you prepare in autumn, in winter, and then you're in your summer. So for me, that's what vision helps you to do. Because if your vision can be clear enough, and when I'm saying clear, it's like this, Alex. One of the vision board exercises that I did recently around our charity is I talked about this vision I have for First Class City. So First Class City, Alex, is like this. When you walk through the double glass doors. On the first level of this building, you'll see purple pool tables and table tennis on the floor. At the back of the room, you see a spiral staircase that goes to kind of like mezzanine level. On the first floor, ground floor, you see high definition pictures of all the work that the charity's done in big A1 posters. Wow. When you walk up those mezzanine stairs, you go through a glass door and you see a big glass board table with leather swirly chairs with 50-inch smart TVs on the wall. So can you see? Like, Alex, could you see that? Could you see that building?
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it.
You need to be able to feel your vision. You need to be able to see it. It needs to make you feel some type of emotion. Because when you see that vision clear enough, I'm telling you, when it gets hard, you'll be able to hold on to that vision and get through the hard times.
Especially because I love purple as well. So, hey.
Yeah, see it there.
So who do you model? Who do you model, Nathan? Because you're a young man out there. You've got a team. You're leading your team. Who do you model?
Ultimately, through my faith, is Christ, the Lord. But in a practical mentorship perspective, I have so many people that speak into my life. I've had so many men, especially, that have held me up. I have to shout out people like on my journey. There's been the whole Bringing Hope crew, Robin Thompson, Carver Anderson, Dr. Carl George, MBE, someone from London, a gentleman by the name of Pat Reed, phenomenal businessman and phenomenal brain. These men have spoken and spent time with me to help me to think through the things that I'm doing. In terms of females, Daniela Gines, who's now actually a trustee member, who's worked with us behind the scenes to help us think about our Vision 2020 plan and 2021 and beyond, like the tools and the methodologies. Some of the books that I've read, I've never met these people, but T.D. Jakes, 2 books, transformational for me, maximizing emotions, wow. Phenomenal book, like transformed my mind. Authors like Dr. Edwin Cole, Maximizing Manhood, real phenomenal authors. Dr. Miles Monroe, The Power of Vision. Like, this is my resources, some of those resources behind the scenes. And I know I've missed people, but there's been like, I didn't arrive here by myself. I'm still on the journey, but it's because of mentors, it's because of men and women that took time out to speak into my life, to tell me that, Nathan, there's something about you. You can do something. You can make a difference. You can change your life. You can be awesome. And then give me some of the practical tools that I needed. So for me, role modeling and having positive, inspirational people is important. I have to even shout out Claudine Reed, because I remember meeting her.
Claudine Reed, MBE.
MBE. I have to shout her out because when I first met her, I met her at the International Convention Center in Birmingham, Hall 3, which is a 2,000-seater auditorium. And she was delivering one of the sessions. I've never known who she was, but I seen on this panel of white people, this black woman articulate herself with power. And I said, who is that? I just couldn't believe, like years later, I bumped into the same woman, but through like a church setting. And I was like, what? Oh, and I'm like, oh, that's the source of your, like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, that's where the source of the strength comes from. I was like, wow. There's just, you know what I'm saying? So I think for me, Alex, what you're doing here is so important, because we have to profile ourselves on the next level so that people can see that we exist and that there are people doing stuff the right way, working hard, and actually you can get results for working hard.
Thank you for that, man. And that's so true, because it was Dr. Martin Glynn who said something to me a couple of episodes ago. And he said to me, imagine this, Alex, 100 years from now, we've all disappeared, we've gone. But because of the social media tools we've used, we've now got an archive of information, stories, and interviews that the next generations are watching. They can see because we've done this. And I thought, I never looked at it like that before. I thought, wow, that's amazing. Because in 100 years from now, I'll be 150 plus.
Yeah. So true.
That's amazing. So, what would you like to see happen, Nathan, with everything that you're doing?
I just like to see communities transformed. I like to see people accessing jobs and the right type of jobs. I love to see social mobility, like flourishing. One of the things that I said at an interview that I went for a few months back with the Commonwealth Games, which is a massive project in the West Midlands, and I was speaking to the chairman. I said to him, when it's all said and done and the Commonwealth Games is gone, I want these games to be like an oasis that came into the region and actually refreshed the community. And when I say refreshed them, I'm talking about refreshed them mentally, emotionally, and from a job economics perspective. Like, it would be a crying shame if a phenomenal over £700 million project came to the West Midlands and the local community where the games is based, most of the activities is based, didn't feel that benefits wasn't impacted. So for me, it's about transformation. For me, it's about young people, older people, knowing that their lives can be transformed. For me, it's about working with companies and helping them think differently around how they engage more effectively with African and Caribbean communities.
The challenge you have there, with projects that big, is the fact that when the big corporates get involved, when the big money players get involved, how do you get them to share with the local community? How do you get them to provide and allow the local community to participate in the piece of cake that everybody wants?
It's phenomenally hard, but it's about empowering first our community to understand how to sit at the right tables, how to challenge them through their contractual agreements and arrangements, and in terms of their KPIs, key performance indicators and stuff like that. It's also understanding that now many companies have to show social value and social return on investment. So it's not good enough that you just can, you're going to provide this service, this is the fee. We need to see in the contracts, okay, this is the social return on investment that we're going to have. So if you're going to build this building, what's difference are you going to make socially? Not just a cost saving in terms of the raw material, but we want to know how you're going to change the people's lives, how you're going to house the local people, how you're going to employ the local people. So it's about us sitting at the table, being at the table, and constantly keeping the people who are at the table accountable to what the things they said they will. Because if you don't have any accountability at the table, nothing will change.
On the part of getting to the table, something that you mentioned in our pre-interview, and you said this, you said something to the effect that if you're a company with X amount of turnover, so you don't qualify to be part of the program or to participate. If you find 5 or 6 other companies who share the same kind of vision with you and collaborate and come together, then it allows you to then enter the table as a collaborative. Am I correct?
That's completely correct. But it does take a real deep change of mindset, because what I was saying in that analogy was, if let's just say there's 5 of us and you turn over 200,000, I turn over 200,000, and 5 others turn over 200,000, that makes £1 million. Some contracts require you to have at least over £1 million turnover and a certain level of insurance. So it makes more business sense if you could come together and collaborate through a kind of partnership or consortium model where you can go for contracts at a greater level and value, because by yourself, you're just not going to get it. Because if you're trying to go for a £2 million contract by yourself and you only turn over 200,000 or whatever it is, they're just going to look at you and think, no, you're too much of a risk. This is too much of a jump for you. And you're just going to get kicked out of the tendering process. So I think we've got to think much, So I think it's important that we start to think much more strategic and think about how we can partner with each other and almost be like, I like to use analogies, be almost like the Avengers. So when you look at the Avengers, what I love about the Avengers Marvel movie, and any Avengers fans would know this, is that, you watch all the films, Captain America had his own film, Thor had his own film, Hulk had his own film. but they came an enemy. They came a problem that was so big that they had to come together and unite because their power by themselves was not enough. And we have to realize as businesses that there's certain problems that we cannot tackle by ourselves, because almost like if you're Hulk, Alex, and I'm Thor, we need to go and find Iron Man and Captain America to partner with us to get down this thing, because some of these things are very high and very strong, and we need to pull them down. So sometimes the way we're going to pull down these opportunities is by the power of unity, where 2 or 3 are gathered. There's power, there's a multiplication, there's synergy. And I think we've lost that in terms of our business understanding of how that works.
Let me throw some spanner in the works here with one thing, because I know you're a man of faith as well, like myself. In terms of what you've just said about the collaborating and about enabling us to find each other with a problem that's so big, how do you think our churches can work or do something around that arena that they help to create a bigger solution? Do you think it's possible?
I think it's possible, but it's going to take new thinking.
We've been talking about new thinking here. We've been talking about new thinking and new ways of working. Why not with our churches?
It depends. It depends about the leadership, and it depends about the age profile, demographic as well of the leadership. Because for a church, their original mission and mandate was to preach the gospel. That's what churches are there for, and to help the community. So when you start to introduce business thinking and strategizing and sustainability, sometimes that can be quite a challenge to what their original core mission was. So I think it's about finding those who are business minded within the groups.
But it becomes more than that. When you start to have to cater for the social side of the people that you are serving, and to make sure that, okay, you've catered for the spiritual. Now you're saying as an organization, look, guys, there's not enough accommodation for our people. There is not enough schools for our people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now you're standing as a voice in the real walks of life to say we need focus here. And that doesn't take business sense. It just takes a concern for your community as a collective.
Yeah. It's you know what? There's a big fight on for power and position. I see it within my own generation. I'm an 80s baby. I have many phenomenal people that I'm around at my generational level. But when it comes to collaborating, there seems to always be this, you're like, and I just think that people need to be clear about their vision and mission, to know that actually working with me doesn't take away anything that you need to do. You actually bring strength, but for whatever reason, people perceive that as a threat. And, you know, I've just countless people I could name what I wouldn't do, who I've said, come, let's stand together and work together. And they reject it. And I'm like, okay, because actually you say, for instance, I've got an administrator in my organization. Actually, that administrator could work for both of us, and actually it saves cost. You know what I'm saying? There's just smarter ways we could be doing this. So yeah, that's my I think that we need to work from an individual level about learning to work with people more.
My dear friend, Paul Gray, and Paul Gray talks a lot about the sharing economy.
Mm-hmm.
And long before we were doing all the shared office spaces and everything else, he was always talking about the shared economy, sharing the transportation, sharing the vehicles. We don't have to all buy one. You know, I need a plumber. There's a plumber over there. You know, just sharing everything that we've got.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably we in a church setting, we do have the resource there. We have the people.
Mm-hmm.
The people are there. The skill sets are there. Everything is there. It's just the will and the mind.
It's a mindset, man. It's too.
Wow.
We come from a culture of collectivism, but we've become more individual. And the village mentality has gone, or has really reduced. Because realistically, what we should have done is, when you think about other cultures, they all live in one house, and then slowly,
yeah,
you know, they move out and buy a house, and it goes like that. We just want to just leave. It doesn't matter if it's social housing, whatever housing, just leave and then we find that you're trying to start from the ground zero, and that's all going to be problematic. Realistically, we should be standing on the shoulders of our leaders and our family members, and working together in collaboration to do things, because there's a thing in our community that we've done for years, which is called partner. But I think we need to graduate partner and think more, how about doing business partners where we have an end goal in mind for why we're bringing the money together. So yeah, I think it does take a new level of thinking and a willingness to want to partner with others.
Bola said, thanks for educating people about color. Thanks for educating us. People of color can be an option. Could be an option. Hey, you're getting thanks there, man. Thanks for the work you're doing. Thanks for all the stuff that you're pushing out. And for it's you're being out in the front means that there's a generation of young people watching you, looking at everything you're doing and saying, I'm thinking, wow, could I do that?
And my answer is, Alex, 1000% you can do this and more. Greater things you can do. Facts.
Amazing.
That's a fact.
Amazing.
100%. And that's what I want to do, is inspire people to think bigger, take the limits off. Nothing's impossible. Some people say it's impossible until they're seeing it done.
Wow. So what's the goal? What's the 10-year? What's the 10-year vision now? Where do you see this thing going 10 years from now? Because getting to 10 years is an uphill struggle. But 10 years.
Internationally recognized. We have franchise locations of the work that we're doing. And I'm at a place economically that I choose when I work. And I can just invest into every vision and idea that I've ever had. That's the 10-year vision for me.
Wow. To duplicate and replicate this across the world. Bringing solutions to our community. Amazing. Nathan, this has been an amazing interview with you, man. Just talking about, strategy, vision, where you're going, how you're impacting not just your local community, but how you've gone to the top of boardrooms and brought them to the street. Bringing that connection to the street and allowing them to see how the other half lives. That is amazing. Because I'm sure when they go home to their own families, they then appreciate life even more. That's amazing.
Yes.
So what?
Fantastic, man. You know what I would like to say, Alex, is just like, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you to share with the listeners that will listen to this. But I want to leave everyone with one of my favorite quotes. And it says, the two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. Living in our purpose, for me, is vital, is critical. I think that when we find our purpose, that's where we find the fullness of joy, and we find that energy that helps us to push through the challenging times. So I'll repeat it again for those who may not have heard. The two most important days in our life are the day we are born and the day we find out why. Mark Twain.
Woo! The day we were born and the day we found out why. Whoa. And let's just absorb that for a few moments, guys, because that is powerful. But sometimes we ignore these simple things because we're looking for a big fix. We're looking for some magic fix, And 90% of the time, what you're looking for is already inside of you, and you just got to develop it.
I love that. I love that.
So Nathan, have you got anything coming up or thing that you want to talk about, advertise before we go?
So I think just to visit us, if you could put that PowerPoint that you put together up again, is really visit us at www.legacyconsultants.co.uk and just find out and just have a look at our webpage and see what we're doing. And then for those who are interested in our charity and the charity that I founded, you can visit www.firstclassfoundation.co.uk. I just want to say thank you so much for listening. I'm on Twitter as well at Just and Dennis. Obviously, through LinkedIn, you should see this, but my LinkedIn page is Nathan Dennis. It's my name. If you want to just check out what we're doing at the charity on Instagram, just type in @FC Nation UK. So @FC Nation UK. And if you want to follow the socials of our Legacy Consultants, just type in Legacy Consultants on LinkedIn. You'll find us. We've got a group page there. And also for our social media, Twitter and Instagram, it's Legacy Impact UK. Legacy Impact UK. Thank you so much,
Legacy
Alex,
Impact UK. Ladies and gentlemen, we've just had Nathan Dennis in the house talking about leaving a legacy, talking about creating a legacy, talking about collaborating, talking about connecting with people, talking about kitchen table strategies, man. Oh, wow, man. Whoever thought that a kitchen table would be a place whereby you bring corporates to in the Black community and give them a Guinness punch and a piece of cake, and they go, wow, that's amazing. Guys, I thank you, Nathan, for being on the show today. I look forward to talking to you again, man. And we must have a part 2. Thank you, sir.
100%. Thank you for the time, and it's been an honor.
Let's just go. Let me close you out now, guys. Woo!
Miss the show. You got to be on the show.